You know why people don't run unique guns? Because they're not standard. Parts are limited. Why be special when you're not effective on the field? Why stand out? Stop trying to be different. My mother's my sister. I probably know how to handle a rifle better than you do anyway. I earned this rank, even though I've never been in the military. That's how skilled I am at this sport. I say my sport because I just allow people to play, so I can have targets to make sick gameplays that I don't edit my deaths out of. I even edit them on the field in the driver's seat of my Ford. They didn't even deserve to hit me anyway, stupid spade softers. Protein! I'm scarfing down on my MRE meals right now before I go talk about my real firearms to go flex on some of these non-cry-having kids. Hate that I'm poking at elitists? Oh well, I'll continue to do so. Bird! I make fun of them even though I'm reviewing another M4. A tiny M4. Yes, but another M4 regardless. Most of you know already that I prefer to stand out or at least pick the more rare variant of a rifle if I have to use an M4, but I still get flooded with M4s to review. That's alright, I appreciate the support when I get it, even if I'm critical on any M4 rifles since I see thousands of them. An M4 has to stand out to really get a good review from me. So I guess Classic Army gets a pass because I like this one, the Classic Army AR4. But why? It's the low weight of the polymer body, the overall length, and the electronic trigger unit that allows me to program it in seconds. I'll get to all of that, but first, I need to thank Airsoft GI for making this review happen by sponsoring the silly stuff I do. Classic Army is also directly responsible Classic Army is also directly responsible for sending me this to take a look at, so I better say only good stuff about it, right? This gun is perfect and Classic Army can do no harm. Would that make you want to watch me more? No, I'm going to review this the way I like, by being as honest as possible. So let's start this review where we always do, with the unboxing. This unboxing is going to be a little bland, since this rifle in particular is a pre-release sample, so I only received the AR4, a really lightweight plastic high-cap magazine, and a sheet that goes over how to put a battery in the different Classic Army rifles, which won't help me. It'll also show you how to use the basic controls, how to set the electronic trigger, and how to remove the spring guide on a different rifle. But that's alright, since this is just a sample. I assume that the real box for the AR4 will be filled with the proper contents. Moving on to the roughly 5-pound AR4, I'll say right away that this is mostly made from polymer, and that it can be had for less than $200. This polymer extends to the rail system, the upper and lower receivers, and the buffer tube. This is what keeps the build cost and the weight as low as it is. Couple that with the short length of the AR4, and you have a pretty good contender for a CQB gun as long as the FPS is 350 and lower. At the end of the metal outer barrel, we do have a plastic flash hider with some threads on it for compatible suppressors or other devices. However, if that doesn't suit your needs, then underneath you'd find the standard 14mm counterclockwise threads that we're all used to. Truthfully, I don't very much like these flash hiders, as I've had a couple guns affected by some of these flash hiders either being slightly bent or by being shaped oddly on the inside. The DT4 that we unboxed earlier had that problem, and I've seen BBs stacked in similar flash hiders from Classic Army. Good thing for those threads underneath, just in case the flash hider on this one affects how the AR4 fires. Actually, no, this flash hider is pretty bad. I'm going to spoil this review a bit here. This review goes right down the drain because of this flash hider, and yes, I tried to remove it without destroying it since this isn't my gun, but I had no luck. After a while, when filming the chronoing of the AR4, the inside of the flash hider started to break apart BBs and cause this stacking that I mentioned. Classic Army, trust me when I say this, you'd be doing yourself a major favor by getting rid of these muzzle devices and finding a new design or material to build them out of. Moving backwards, of course, we have a small rail wrapping the outer barrel. I wouldn't say that this is a quad rail, but there are points on the sides for most accessories. Let's be real here, you're not going to hook this thing up with an M203 grenade launcher that's roughly the same weight as the AR4 itself and a long scope on top, then complain that you don't have enough room for an IR laser. I do like the QD sling points on each side though. Those will go well with the sling points on the buffer tube. Up top, the AR4 comes with the standard flip-up sights that we've seen on many other Nemesis rifles. These are metal and flip up and flip down nicely. The front sight is adjustable for elevation, while the rear sight is adjustable for windage, and comes with the optional aperture, which is nice. These will do the job for me, but if you need something more like a T1 aim point, Then go ahead and utilize the Picatinny rail. Onto the PDW style stock, I'd say one thing could really make this rifle better. Maybe I'm trying too much to find improvements, but this stock could really benefit from a rubber coated butt pad. It could either be a thick pad like you'd find on an L85 rifle, or just a coating to add texture, but it would be better in my mind than just plain metal grooves. But that's just my opinion. The stock on the AR4 is pretty sturdy regardless for what it is in either its two lengths, and it's the only major part of the gun besides the outer barrel that is metal. I do like the big lever underneath to adjust the stock and those two sling points that I mentioned earlier, but the access to the battery compartment is a major pro to me. It's just very simple and easy to access, and actually comes with a bit of room inside. Not enough to fit something like an 11.1 nunchuck battery inside, but enough for an average 11.1 candy bar battery. There's not too much wiring either, there's just enough to make things work while keeping enough room available to the user. The PDW style stock is not for everyone. Not everyone's gonna like this stock, which is totally alright since everyone is different, but for me, I'd say the stock setup gets a pass. Now onto the controls that can be found on the receivers. The flat trigger is great, very snappy. It's not a hair trigger, but it's still crisp for an AG, and the electronic trigger system inside is always a plus. I've said this a lot, but being able to change my fire selections in seconds is a great power whenever you're not trying to be stealthy. Just hold down the trigger while you're in semi-auto for a few seconds, then listen for the beeps. Then pull the trigger in semi-auto to make a selection change, and then lock it into place by switching to full auto and then back to semi. That's the power of a Classic Army ECS gun like the AR4, the ECS M110, the X9, and many other Classic Armies. Just make sure it has an ECS inside it. After that, the controls are pretty basic. I'm surprised that even the bolt release was non-functioning. Having to hold back the ambidextrous charging handle to get to the rotary hop-up is not much to gripe about. I'm just surprised that this does nothing after all the other Classic Army rifles that I've seen, as they usually have functioning locks. The selector switch is standard as well as the magazine release. Nothing award-winning, they just exist and work. The quick access motor grip is a pro, however. Anything that makes teching on your guns easier to do is always a plus, I think. So good on you, Classic Army, for implementing this onto these golf ball textured motor grips. So now let's look at some really weird stuff, like how I can do this. I don't know why exactly I'm able to do this. The whole outer barrel just screws off with the rail kit on it. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's not difficult either, and I can easily see someone tweaking the whole barrel and rail kit off of it in the middle of a game before having to line everything back up again. Like, what even is this cross screw and block doing if I can still unscrew this? We should just send you everything because you figure out how to break everything. That's literally what I was told by a rep from Classic Army, and I love it. This is just a prototype, so I'm being told that there are supposed to be tabs to keep the rail in place, like you'd see here. But yeah, this is something that needs to change up if that's not true. The non-captive front takedown pin is also a point of concern, but I'm told that all skirmish line rifles from Classic Army are all non-captive. Okay. But on the inside, we have 9mm bushings, an aluminum cylinder with a plastic cylinder head, a metal spring guide with a quick spring change gearbox with metal gears, and a 23K Proline motor inside a skirmish line rifle. Onto the chronoing, I found that the AR4 was shooting at sub CQB readings, which makes sense. I wouldn't have imagined it shooting at 450 feet per second or something else like that. The rate of fire was also about right at 18 rounds a second when I could get a proper reading. Let me express this one more time. These flash hiders have to go. If it makes the gun useless, then I'm going to rip it right off the gun. But then again, this isn't my gun. And this is not the first, second, or third time that I've seen this happen with guns with this flash hider.
Now, to be fair, this is not the first Classic Army this has happened out here.
James.
Take those off real quick. Because the last time I did this, took somebody's apart, it had like 8 or 9 BBs in the barrel, and about 7 in between the inner barrel and the flash hider.
What's the issue, you think?
I'm no true expert, but that's a slight design flaw.
Oh, there they all go. Wow.
So,
you had half a mag in the barrel.
So don't get me wrong, and see, there's still BBs in there.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Like,
this terrifies me.
Like
It's a dud.
I recommend Classic Army all the time because I like Classic Army guns.
Same.
What I would have done to this gun to make it better would be to add some rubberized texturing to the butt pad or just a rubber pad at the end of it, add on a bolt catch and ambi the selector switches, but for $190 on Airsoft GI, the AR4 is looking very good right now, despite the obvious issue. I like this gun, and I think it can do pretty good on the market, especially with newcomers for its price. But it does need a little bit more work. May I suggest maybe a full stock model of this rifle, because being able to fit a full-size stick battery down inside the stock, it's pretty cool. You gotta love a full stocked rifle. This is still a sample, and it shows in some areas, but what do you think about the Classic Army AR4? Is it worthy or not? How could this rifle be better, or how would you have built it? I'd love to see those comments, because that's how a company like Classic Army gets better. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'd like to thank the notification squad and all these sexy people that comment on every video. Now, if you don't mind, I've got to send this rifle back, so I guess I'll let you all enjoy the rest of your day. So until that next video drops from the city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I'll be sure to see you all next time.
1,000 feet per second. Not the prettiest of things, but that's the only battery I can get to fit. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I have a few people wanting to ask and submit about it.